One of the best parts about working in R&D here is that we get to touch every part of hockey operations, whether that's pro and amateur scouting, to coaching, strength and conditioning, player development, you name it. And we learn so much from everyone around here, and particularly with regards to applying data and learning from it. A lot of what we've done, especially with newer data sources like tracking data, is try to get to the why, right? So it's one thing to come up with a player metric and be like, so-and-so is the best or worst player in the league, but it's another thing to go into a week of scouting meetings and say, okay, we really like this player from a numbers perspective, and the scouts might say, oh, we're not as high on him. What is actually the discrepancy there, rather than just pointing to one number? So I think that's where tracking data and just new data sources help us get more context, get more understanding about stylistic trends of players, and really get to that why when there are those types of interesting discrepancies.
And when we talked to Alex, she talked a ton about communication, but talk about the importance in communication for people on your team, because you're doing the work, but then you have to have it help the people who need it.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the biggest things we've talked about, especially this year, is like when we're looking at game-to-game data, let's say you see some expected goals numbers or things like that, especially when we're talking to our different staffs, including the coaching staff, let's say, it's like, what are they actually supposed to take away from it, and what are they actually supposed to do with it? So that's where there's been a lot of back and forth of sometimes less is almost more when it comes to sharing data, because it's like if we share a number with them and there's no immediate takeaway or nothing that they're supposed to actually change, then maybe it's not worth sharing that moment, and maybe it's kind of something that we track over a season, identify broader trends, and kind of share some insights there. So we've, I think, tried to be pretty deliberate about just like not generating and sharing every number all the time, because then you get overwhelmed and you're not really sure what to do with it, but just focusing on what's actually actionable.
How important have you learned it to be to have boots on the ground?
Yeah, I think I've learned the most in that perspective from our amateur staff, I'll say. You know, the draft is one of my favorite things to work on every year, and I think, you know, being in meetings with them virtually every week, and then twice a season, all of us getting together, you really understand, again, their lives are just driving and flying everywhere all over the world to try and see these prospects, and it's a good reminder to me that, you know, I better be up to speed on everything, I better be prepared, I better be knowledgeable, because I'm trying to provide a different perspective to someone who's actually, again, maybe driven all over the world to scout the player we're talking about, and has interviewed them and has such a wealth of knowledge about them that you kind of have to be especially prepared and respectful to provide any type of counterpoint to that. I give them a ton of credit for, like, they always ask really interesting questions year round of just like, okay, so, you know, I think this guy is really good defensively, but the numbers seem lower on that. Why is that? And just being and coming at it from a place of genuinely wanting to learn instead of being like, oh no, we disagree. I think that's been so great to hear from them and kind of identify those interesting discussions earlier and more frequently throughout the year. And then also helps us think more critically about our numbers, and especially when it comes to prospects, really getting to this notion of like, what are things that they can improve on versus what are things that might limit their ceiling.
So what do you think the value is of not just people who maybe aren't in the sport yet, but also people who are in the sport, seeing someone like you succeed at what you're doing?
Yeah, one of the things I like to think about moving forward is just, and it doesn't have to be a huge deal to everyone every day, but I think just in talking about all these relationships and all the people that I work with, I like knowing that maybe, you know, I was the first woman or the first person of color that someone might have worked with, but I hope and I intend to not be the last, and hopefully they understand that, like, you know, people can look all different types of ways and work in this field, and just kind of get used to that notion. So, you know, I think it can just be as simple as getting people used to it by being here and having been here for now 6 years.